and I think he's a hugely influential Chilean winemaker. This project was started, as before, as a kind of whim. His father-in-law, Don Alberto Levi, who's on the left in the photo, it's the photo I took when I went down about 5 years ago. His father-in-law said, why don't we plant a couple of hectares? And Felipe said, you know what, it's a bit far south, we're never going to ripen anything here. In the 19th century, there's a lot of precedents for wine here. The immigrants, French, Swiss, Italian, came in, planted vines, didn't really get ripe, a lot of problems with botrytis at the end of the season, a bit of rain, so they used to make it into brandy. Felipe said, you know what, this latitude, I'm not sure. He then went to the South Island of New Zealand and said, well, hang on, actually you can do it at this latitude, so why don't I give it a go? So he planted a little bit of Chardonnay. Massive vine spacing because the only thing they had down there was the wheat tractors. And that Chardonnay went on to become Sol de Sol Chardonnay, which has been a very, very successful wine. It's not for everyone, and I don't think this Pinot is for everyone either. But for me, what I like about it, what I find interesting, is it really is pushing the boundaries of Chilean Pinot. We're talking high acid, we're talking low alcohol, we're talking a wine that definitely needs age. It's not for everyone, but I like that. I like that Chileans making wines that I think will appeal to some and not to others, working with their site. It's a very late season. The point that Felipe makes, it's a very late season. He sent me this slide. Veraison is the end of February. And what that means is the heat of the summer is past by the time Veraison takes place. So the maturation period, where you get those all-important flavour precursors and flavours in the grapes, is actually done in quite cool temperatures. Pedro, when he sent me his thoughts, said, this wine, of all of these wines, has the best climate for me, for Pinot, because it's continental, it's cloudy and a bit rainy, but it allows you a growing season to get ripeness with 13% alcohol. And I think we'll be seeing a lot more Pinot from the south of Chile, probably a lot more fizz and a lot more Chardonnay too, but I think a lot more Pinot as well. These soils are red clay. People get very excited about red clay in Chile, and Felipe sent me a whole ream of information which I won't read out here. But red clays with sort of cloudy, slightly rainy, but warm summers, they do need irrigation here, I think makes for really exciting Pinot. I'll move on quickly to the Monsecano, and then we can have some comments at the end. The Monsecano is 2011. They've sold out. Lenka's been selling it too well. They've sold out of the 2010, so they've sent me the 2011. Both of these wines, for me, are committing infanticide. We're tasting them far too young, hence the decanting that Carl and Anita kindly did. This is the 2011. It's just come out. Monsecano is a beautiful terroir. We call it Casablanca. It's not really Casablanca. It's pushing the boundaries of what Casablanca is. This is far more close to the coast than most of Casablanca. This is 10 kilometers from the coast. This is in an area, a little valley called Las Dichas, which is really isolated. As you can, this lovely picture here, which I stole off their website. Las Dichas, so Las, D-I-C-H-A-S. Dichas, yeah, Las Dichas. If you look at it on the map, I think it's on your map, actually. It's just way in the, it's way out of Casablanca to the west. So very coastal, get a lot of cooling influence. This is very young vines. These were planted 05, 06. So for Pinot, this is nothing. This is very young vines. And it's all done biodynamically. It's founded by Julio Donoso, Chilean photographer with a French heritage, and André Ostertag, who many of you will know from Alsace. The whole biodynamic shebang with the non-block concrete eggs and blah, 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 and the geese. 2,700 bottles made. Steep granitic, degraded granitic soils. And I thought I'd just give you a couple of quotes about this one after a picture of the production. When I was tasting it in Chile, one of the tasters described it as, it smells like cocaine, like good Von Romani. I don't know really where to start with that quote, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. FMV, I thought, sorry, Lenka, I had to, get it up there. But for me, a characteristic of this wine, when I've tasted it, every time, this wine isn't about fruit so much as it's about earth, it's about herbs, it's about other things than fruit. There is fruit, but it's about other things, and that's what gets me excited as a Pinot. It doesn't have any oaking. It's 16 months in the non-block. And then it's not filtered and very, very lightly sulfured. 13.2% alcohol, pH 3.6. This is a vin de terroir for me. This is a terroir wine. No oak, it's just the non-blot. Yeah. Don't know if that's a verb to non-blot. Any comments on the Pinots? Anyone? Any questions? Anything I've missed off? No? Okay, so we'll move. I think we'll move fairly swiftly on to the last two, if that's all right. The last two, which are other, the Sanso first, and then the last one, which is a UK exclusive for you, and I'll explain why in a minute. The Aiju 2011 from the heart of the Atacama Desert. I'm going to start talking now. Please do carry on tasting. We're a bit short on time. I don't want to send you over there too late because I know there's a lot to do. And it's also, I think, important to preface these wines a little bit because this is where I need you most to have an open mind when you're tasting these wines. These are different kinds of Chilean wines than we've really had in the past. The first one is the first real attempt at natural wine in Chile. And the second one has been described as ground zero winemaking. I'll explain what that means in a minute. We're looking at these wines with the perspective of potential rather than anything else. These are not expensive wines. These are pretty cheap wines. But I think they have some very important things to say about Chile and its heritage, which we don't often talk about. The first one is the De Martino Viejas Tinajas Sanso. Many of you will have tried this wine. I did have a debate about which wine to serve here, but I wanted to get this one in because I tried a lot of similar styles of wine from Chile, which were a little bit funky and a bit out there. This is still pretty out there for Chile, but I think it's just brilliantly done in terms of what it is. This is about £9–10, just to put it in a sort of ballpark price for you. Now, this wine is about a vineyard and a man, as I would say, was it? Marcelo Retamal, El Doctor, as he is known amongst Chilean winemakers. I think he's one of the most influential Chilean winemakers out there. He's also known as El Rockero. And anyone who knows Marcelo will know that he's a massive Iron Maiden fan. And that's really important to understanding Marcelo. One of his favourite quotes is, if you're going to die with your boots on. And apparently this is an Iron Maiden song. I don't know, anyone Iron Maiden fans, help me out? Okay. Some nods from some unlikely looking Iron Maiden fans, I have to say.